Hi everyone, thanks for coming today. We're going to be going over the Rethink Scheduler and Billing training. When you first log in, you're going to see this page. It includes several tiles that will take you to different areas of the platform. So for example, you'll have staff members, clients, resource and training center, scheduling, and tasks and notifications. A couple of the other tiles won't apply. So today we're going to be focusing here in this scheduling area. When you first come into the scheduler, you'll see an individual calendar tab, and directors and team leads will also have a couple of other tabs up here. Today we're just going to focus on this individual calendar tab. Here you'll see where you are in the calendar. So this is listed by weeks. We are here the 18th through the 24th, and the view is on my calendar right now. I can also search by clients. So let's say I'm going to not look for myself and instead look for my client. My client is called Test 1. I can just type it in and hit enter, and I'll see my client schedule. So you'll notice there are some gray areas and some white areas. This is determined by the availability settings. So when you first come into the system, you're going to want to set your availability and your client's availability, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. In the calendar, appointments are scheduled as travel appointments, billable appointments, non-billable appointments, and they might also have some notes on the schedule, billing issues, authorization issues, and if a session is canceled. You can navigate through the calendar through the weeks here by clicking on one of these orange arrows. It will take you week by week through the client's schedule or through your schedule, and you can also change your view option from weekly to monthly, and it will show your sessions here. So let's go back to the week view. If you are a BCBA, you'll have the ability to schedule for your team members, so BCABAs and RBTs that are on your cases. So you could search by their name. So Lisa Hopkins Scott is going to be my RBT that I'll be using as the example here. And so here is her schedule. We haven't had any appointments scheduled in yet. So first what we should do is go into our own availability settings. So you can come up here to staff members, and we're going to type in my name. And right here you'll see availability. And I can click edit, and I can change my availability from here. So I can check the days of my availability, Monday through Friday, and I can input the times. They can be different each day if you wish, and then just save it. I've already set up Lisa's availability, so we'll skip that. We're going to go to clients, and I can search here by my client's name, Test. And availability is under this list again. So I'll go to availability and select edit, and then I can change my client's availability as also. There are some other options down here that you can select. If the client has aggressive behaviors, if they require a specific gender therapist, if they speak any other languages. Okay, and then you can just hit save once you're finished. And so that's how you would change your availability within the calendar. So if we go back to scheduling, you can see that my client's schedule is in here. So the white areas are the times that the client is available. Okay, so let's look at an example schedule, what that might look like. So for my client, Test 1, there are sessions scheduled throughout the week, no sessions scheduled on Thursday. Green means it's a billable appointment. That means it's billable to the funding source. Blue means it is non-billable. So it's something that is not billable to the funding source, but it still needs to be scheduled in the calendar if you are being paid for that service. So that might be something like RBT supervision is not billable to some funding sources, and so that will be marked as a non-billable appointment. And then if that's the case, it would have a matching appointment with a supervisor. And then yellow appointments are for travel time. So we're going to go in and schedule a week's worth of sessions. So I can show you an example for an RBT and a BCBA. this scheduling will also apply for BCABAs. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into our schedule. And let's go ahead and schedule a billable appointment for an RBT. So let's say these are direct services. I can click and drag down on the calendar and it will highlight amount of time. When I let go, it will take me to this events detail page. And this is where we're going to put information about the session. So first is the type. It's a billable appointment if you're doing direct services with a client. And it shows my start time and end time, the duration of my session. And I can select the staff member that it's being scheduled for. You'll most likely be scheduling for yourself, but there are some BCBAs who will want to do scheduling for their team. Okay, so I'm going to select Lisa. Her pay code is RBT level 3, so you can see there are different pay code options. We're not scheduling indirect time or drive time right now, so it's RBT level 3. And we also need to add a tag to add more information about the service. So this is RBT Direct Services. So we'll go down to RBT Direct Services, select that. And I'm confirming that this is for my client test 1. And then under service, it's the specific code that the service is being billed under. So in this case, it's H2014. So I'll select that. The place of service is the type of location where you're providing services. So this might be at a client's school, at a client's home, or other place of service. You can see there's a large list of things here. Most of them are not applicable. So birthing center, for example, we don't usually provide services there. The location is going to refer to the area under the director. So if your client is in the clinic setting, we would say that would be Tampa Clinic. If it's in a school setting, it might be Impact or Lighthouse, or maybe in Pasco County. If your client is in the home setting, it generally falls under the county in which they live. So it depends on which director you're listed under. So we'll go ahead and say Hillsborough here. And then once we confirm all of the details here, then we can save our appointment. And it will give you a notification that your changes have been saved. You can X out of that and close the tab. So now you can see we have this green billable session right here for Lisa. Let's go ahead and schedule a supervision session right after that. So maybe Lisa did the first part of the session and then I'm coming as the supervisor. So we need to schedule 2 appointments at the same time, one for Lisa and one for myself as the supervisor. To determine whether your appointment should be scheduled as a billable or a non-billable session, you'll want to refer to this table. So some funding sources reimburse for both the BCBA and the supervisee during the appointment, and some do not. So you'll need to know this when scheduling your appointments. So for Medicaid, for example, my client test 1 is a Medicaid client. So the BCBA supervision appointment I'm going to schedule will be a billable appointment, and the RBT or BCABA supervision appointment is a non-billable appointment. We are not able to bill the funding source for those services. You still get paid for that time, so it needs to be listed in the scheduler, but we don't bill the funding source for those services. So that's listed as a non-billable appointment. So for BCBAs, almost all of the funding sources do reimburse for supervision, except for TRICARE. That would be billed as a non-billable session. And then for RBTs and BCABAs, it varies per funding source. So the ones that do allow supervision to be billed are Aetna, MedWaiver, and private pay, and the others would need to be scheduled as a non-billable session. So you'll have access to this table to determine which type of session you should schedule. So coming back into Rethink, we need to schedule a non-billable supervision appointment for Lisa and a billable supervision appointment for me. So let's go ahead and do Lisa's first. Let's say the supervision appointment is an hour. So we're going to say this a non-billable session from 4 to 5 p.m. Duration is an hour. This appointment's for Lisa. And this is going to be at her RBT level 3. The RBT rate doesn't change during supervision. And for the tag, I'm going to select Supervision RBT. And this tag should be selected based on who it's being scheduled for. So Supervision RBT. The client is for test 1, and the service is RBT Direct Service, this H2014 code. Place of service, we'll say this is in the home setting, and it's in the Hillsborough region. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save my appointment. It gives me the notification it's been saved, and I can close it. And so you can see Lisa's appointment here for supervision. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and schedule a matching supervision appointment for me. So BCBA supervision is billable to Medicaid. So I say billable appointment from 4 to 5, duration's an hour. Staff member is me. And it's a Medicaid client, so I look here for the funder, it's Medicaid. And this appointment is a supervision appointment, so I look for supervision and select this one. And I'm going to add a tag for more details on the appointment I'm scheduling. And this is supervision and my level BCBA. And this is for our client test 1. And the service is going to be this BCBA direct supervision caregiver training. All of those services fall under the same code, H2019, which is why this tag is very important to determine which service I'm providing under this code. So I'm going to select this one. And place of service is home, and the location is Hillsborough. I'm going to go ahead and save my appointment. And I'm going to clear this filter showing just myself. And it's going to show everything for this week for test 1. So it'll show Lisa's direct session, and then the 2 supervision appointments, one being billable and one's not billable. And then let's go ahead and schedule Lisa for another direct appointment afterwards. Let's say her session continues after I leave supervision. So maybe she stays for another hour. So this is a billable direct session. It's Lisa, RBT level 3. It's RBT Direct Services is our tag. For our client test 1, this is our service. It's in the home setting for Hillsborough client. And we save the appointment. Okay, and there is 1 full day of sessions scheduled. I'm going to go ahead and take out Lisa's name here in the search bar so it shows everything for this client for that day. So you can see everything here. So let's say I have a reassessment due for my client. Let's go ahead and schedule a reassessment appointment time into the schedule. So I'm just going to put it here. Let's say I left the session, I had collected some data, and I'm ready to bill for my reassessment. You will just select 1 unit of time. It's a flat rate. So the type is a billable. I can bill for doing a reassessment. So it's a billable appointment. Staff member is me. And then I'm going to select Medicaid reassessment as the service I'm providing. And under the tag, reassessment. And my service is reassessment. And I'm doing this reassessment in my office. And it's for Hillsborough client. And then I can save that appointment. So maybe I had also asked Lisa to help with some graphing. And so she's going to be billing some indirect time to help with graphing for this client. So let's go ahead and schedule an indirect appointment. Let's say it took her half an hour. So we're going to say this is a non-billable. It's not billable to the funding source, although Lisa is going to get paid for her time. So she wants to make sure it's in the scheduler. And these were our times we selected. You can come in here and adjust this. So if you had selected half an hour from the scheduler view and then realized, oh, maybe it was 45 minutes, we can go ahead and adjust it here. Staff member is Lisa. And it's going to be indirect service. And she's doing some graphing, so graphing analysis reports. And this is a non-billable appointment, so we don't need to select any service here, these codes, because we're not billing this to the funding source. So you can leave that blank. She's graphing in her office at home, and it's for a Hillsborough client. Okay, now let's go ahead and schedule a BCBA direct service. So I'm seeing a client from 12 to 1. And I'm going to type my name in here. So there's an X right here. This indicates that I am not available. I have a conflicting appointment, so I actually can't schedule the session at the same time. So let me go back and check my times. 12 to 1. Aha, I do have an appointment at that time. Let's go ahead and move this appointment to 3 o'clock. And let's say it was just till 3:30. Okay, so it's a Medicaid client. I'm still going to be seeing my test 1 client. So direct BCBA. My tag is BCBA Direct Services. And I'm going to select Direct Supervision Caregiver Training. And let's say it's in the home setting. And for Hillsborough client. And I can go ahead and save that. So the client's availability, the way I have it set in the system, is that they're not typically available this time. Maybe it was that I had talked to mom and they said, oh, we're going to be free this day at this time, and so I want to schedule it anyway. So you can do that. The system won't stop you from doing it. It's just going to pop up this warning. So you can save anyways. If you did accidentally put the wrong time, you can go back and edit your appointment. But I'm going to say save anyways. Mom and I agreed that this time was good. My changes have been saved. Okay, so we can see my session here. And let's say I have a client just after that from 4 to 5. And I'm going to do direct services, so billable appointment, me, Medicaid direct services, BCBA. Always make sure to check that you have the right funder. So I know a lot of people have clients from different funding sources. So you might have a TRICARE client and an Aetna client also. And so there are direct service codes available for them also. Make sure you're choosing the right one, because this code determines how much you get paid for your session, which is especially important for contractors because there are different rates for each of the funding sources. So make sure you're checking that it's the correct one. I'm going to add my tag. It's BCBA Direct Services. Actually, let's say I'm doing caregiver training for this session. Okay, BCBA Direct Supervision Caregiver Training. This is the code I'm going to use. And it's for test 1 again. Let's say we transition to the community. And I'm going to do some caregiver training with mom in the community after our home session. So I'm going to say other place of service. And my client is a Hillsborough client. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And I'm going to save anyway. Mom and I agree this was a good time for them. Okay, and here's my session. So if you're an employee, you can also bill for drive time between clients. So let's say I'm going between my client's home and then I'm meeting them out in the community. about half an hour away. So I'm going to schedule a half an hour travel appointment between the two. So this type, we're going to select travel. So I check the staff number, it's for me. For the pay code, it's drive time. And this mileage I can skip for just a minute. This is a service that is not billable to the funding source, to Medicaid, so I'm going to leave this blank. And I'm driving from my client's home here, and we're going out to the community. There's no option for community on here, but it's within Hillsborough, so I'm going to select Hillsborough, and I'm going to change the address to be the specific address where I'm traveling. So let's say it's 321. Okay, and once I put the address in here, it will automatically generate the mileage right here. So you can double check this in a Google app. If you were rerouted due to construction and the mileage is actually higher, you can change this in here. Or if there's another reason that the mileage is different, maybe Google says it's not quite as far, you took a shortcut, so you can change it in here. If you do put additional miles in here, it's a good idea to write a note. So I'm going around construction. That's why my mileage is a little bit higher. Okay, and I'll save my travel appointment. Okay, if you're traveling between clients from one client's home to another, you would select client home here instead. So from one client home to the other client home. There's no option to link it to the client you're going to. So just want to say client home, list their address, and then in this box you want to say which client you're going to. So I'm going to KT. And that's all you do. Okay, so you can see for my client test 1, I have a direct appointment, I have my travel appointment, and then I have another direct appointment afterwards. So I'm going to go X out of this so I can see all of my appointments for test 1. So these are all the ones that we have just scheduled. Okay, so the next step we need to talk about is verifying appointments. Once you have finished your appointment, there are 2 levels of verification that are needed, as well as your session note prior to being able to complete the session. So let's go in and look at verification. So I'm going to click on the session in the schedule. I'm going to open the occurrence, and off to the right here you can see staff and parent verification. So at the end of the session, you'll want to get parent verification. In some settings the parent is not there, so in the clinic setting sometimes the parent isn't there at the end of, let's say, a supervision appointment, or you might be seeing clients in a group home, there's not a parent there, or in the school setting there would just be staff. If you are in a setting where there's another caregiver present, so a teacher, for example, or a group home staff member, you can have them sign instead. If it's in the clinic setting and it's, let's say, the end of the supervision appointment, that's something that the director will be able to override. So you would just need to let them know which sessions will need to have an override. So let's go ahead and click on parent verification. So it's going to be parent, staff, teacher. When you open this up, there's a place for signature, and then also who it is that's signing and their relationship to the client. So let's say that we were in the school setting for the session. I think we have it set up for other places of service, it might be community, but let's say it's in the school setting, and the teacher's name is Dawn, and the relationship is teacher. So you can type those in, and then Dawn can go in and sign the note, and you can save it. So obviously you are probably not going to have your laptop out for all of your sessions, so doing it on the website from your computer is not always going to be the case. You can also pull up the website on your phone, and they actually have a pretty nice mobile version of their website, and you can go into the scheduler and open it up in the same manner. It will look pretty similar, and you would just click on the parent verification. It will open up the same thing for you. You can also complete verification through the app, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. So the next step would be for completing your session note. I'm actually going to go out of here and go to one of my session notes because it won't let me complete one for Lisa. So let's say I'm going to verify my supervision appointment. Okay, so first thing I do is I get parent verification. So this is in the home setting. Dad's going to sign. We're going to save. And before I do my staff verification, I'm going to complete my session notes. You'll see there's 3 tabs right here. The event details is where you schedule your session, the session note itself, and then any warnings associated. So if there's any billing issues with the client, they would pop up under this tab. So for session note, you click on the tab, and then you can see there's this little drop down right here. It's select template for the session note. So there are different notes to complete for different services. So this one is a supervision session. So I'm going to select supervision session note. And this is what they look like. So for the supervision session note, this was in the home setting. If it's in another setting besides what is listed here, you can click other and type it into this box. I'm going to list behavior goals addressed, just as I would have it in my service log. So I'm just going to list which goals I worked on. I'm not going to type it out here though. And then any acquisition strategies implemented with the client. So let's say I used prompting, FCT, and task analysis. And then any behavior reduction strategies implemented with client. We did DRO and extinction and some blocking. And there were some other procedures I implemented that are not included in this list. So I will type those here. Okay. And then for supervision, this will sort of be like the last box that we usually fill in on our service logs. So I'll put all of the different procedures that I used. Let's say I just did instruction during the session. I can click on that. And then I'm going to include a description of the supervision content and any feedback or training that was provided. Just like we do in our service log entries, you want it to be just as detailed as you would normally write. So I would write a little summary of that. And then I can talk about client response to treatment and progress towards goals. So if our supervision session resulted in maybe changing some prompting procedures and that really helped the client make progress towards their goals, I would write that here, or anything related to the client's progress during the supervision session. And then I would sign here. And I'm just going to type in my credential, so BCBA. Once I'm finished, I will go back up to the top and select Save Session Note, which is right here. Okay, and then I can close out of it. Once I'm finished with it, this is what it will look like. So I'll go ahead and close that. So my session note for that session is completed. And I'm going to go back into my session now that I just wrote my session note for. And now I'm going to do my staff verification. So I'm going to click on this box and I'm going to confirm the actual times that I was there for the session. A lot of times we will get to the session early or late, or the session will end early or late. So this is the place where you will change the times of your session once the session's already happened. You don't need to change it out here in the actual event details window. You can show it right here. And it basically does the same thing. So I will go ahead and verify that these were my actual session times. And then when I go out of my session, you can see now that this appointment has white lines running through it. That means the session has been completed. Everything that is needed for being able to bill for that session has been done. So I filled out my event details page, I had my session, I had the parent or caregiver of some sort verify the session, and I also filled out my session note, and I did the staff verification portion. So once there are white lines running through it, you can consider it completed, and it's now off your plate. Let's go ahead and do one for a travel appointment. So for the travel appointment, obviously there's no parent verification. So the only thing I need to do, there's also no session note for it. Just click staff verification. Yes, my time was from 3:30 to 4 o'clock. And I just hit verify. And now my travel appointment is completed. Let's do a direct session so we can see what the session note looks like for that one. So let's say parent verifies at the end of the session. I'm going to come in and do my session note. This is a direct session, so it's just this session note. And I'm going to go ahead and check the setting. And so this first box here, after you do the setting, corresponds to the first box on our service log. So all of the same information is included. Now a lot of it is just check boxes. So I check off what I did during my session and behavior reduction strategies I utilized, and then behavior goals addressed. So you can see how this is familiar with what we were doing before. So you would list all the behavior goals. If you see a red asterisk, that means that it's required for your session note to be completed. So anything with a red asterisk has to be filled out, and anything without it doesn't. Okay, and then between these lines is corresponds to the middle box on our service logs. So this is client's response to treatment and progress towards goals. So you would write the same type of content as you were before, the same amount and quality of content. There's also an option to include your summary data from your session. So you can include any or all data points that you want to, collected by you or collected by all staff. I don't have any data available for this session. That one is not required, so you don't have to pop in data there if you don't want to. And this last section between these two lines corresponds to the last box on our service log, so caregiver performance and health and safety. For MedWaiver and CDC clients, you'll also see clients' rights in here as well, since those need to be listed at least monthly. So caregiver performance. And health and safety. And then after you finish that section, you will sign, and your licensure credential will either pop in here or you can type it in and scroll back up to the top to save your session note. So that's what the session note template looks like for a direct session. Okay, we'll go ahead and close that. The next thing I'd like to show you is what to do about sessions that are broken into 3 different appointments. So for example, Lisa has this session that is the direct service, and then a supervision appointment, and then another direct service. So for the session note, this first one, she'll fill out the session note template for the entire session. For this non-billable appointment, Lisa does not need to fill out a supervision session note. That will be for the BCBA to fill out from now on. And then Lisa will need to fill out a continuation of direct service session note for this last one. So let me show you that. So I'm going to open the occurrence for the second part of her session. I'm going to go to the session note. And I'm going to select continuation of direct service session note. You would select the location of service, select if it was a continuation of a same day service. Yes, it was. The reason for break or later continuation of service. So she had a supervision session in between. So we'll select supervision session. You could also use this, let's say if your client ended up falling asleep during your session and you can't bill for that time, but then the client woke up half an hour later and you continued on, you could use the same process for it. And then you would select, or if there's another reason, you could type it here. You can type any notes related to the continuation of services if you'd like to, but it's not required. All you really need to do is select location of service, if it was a continuation, and the reason for the continuation, and then you can sign and save. Let's do one for the reassessment also. Parent verifies I did my reassessment. You can have them sign off when you do your informed consent form with them. And then for your session note, this will be assessment, reassessment, FBA, BSP revisions, this one. And it will pop in the session note template. If the system already has information in here for these fields, it'll just pop it in for you. And then this is a reassessment, so I'll select this one. And I can describe the service that I provided. So and I can describe any of the new data I entered or any procedures that changed, just as you would in your service log. Go ahead and sign it. Scroll back up to the top, save your session note. Okay, that's what it looks like when it's finished. And we'll close out of it. Once your session is complete and you've finished all of your components, the supervisor on that case will need to come in and review the session note. So for BCBAs, the director would come in here and mark your session note as reviewed. So they'll click this button. If you are the lead analyst on a case, then you'll be reviewing the session notes for your supervisees, those on your team. So when you come in here, you can take a brief look at the session note. If it's somebody who is new to the case or new to the company, you'll want to give it a more thorough review. If it's somebody who's been on your case for quite a while or has been with the company quite a while and they know how to write their session notes, you can kind of give it more of a cursory review. Mark it as reviewed. Once that button is clicked, it will say when it was reviewed and who it was reviewed by. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at how this would be done from the Rethink mobile app. So when you're in the app, after you've finished data collection, if you choose to use their app for data collection, when the session is over, you will select Choose Appointment. So in that first panel, you see Choose Appointment. In the next panel, you will select the time of your session, and then it will take you back to the main screen. You'll hit Verify. And then just as you would do staff verification from your website, you would do it here. So you would select the times of your session, and then you go ahead and have the parent sign directly from there. So you can choose the caregiver and then have them sign directly from the app. And finally, I'd like to talk about how reports are going to be submitted. All reports now are going to be pulled from the client's file cabinet rather than being emailed to Lisa. So I'm going to show you how to go ahead and do that. So under your client, so I'm going to select Test as my client. Under each client, you'll have these different tabs up here. So I'm going to select File Cabinet. Reports will be under what's called Funder Reports, or you can just call it Reports if you choose to. You can edit it right here. I have generated some November graphs, and we're going to go ahead and do that together. I'm just going to make another one. So let's say I'm collecting data through the app, and all of my data is populating in through the Rethink system, and it's time for me to do my monthly reports. or quarterly or annual report. I'm going to come to Funder Reports. You see I've already made a couple of reports. I'm going to make a new report. So add Funder Report. I'm going to select the template. It's only going to bring up templates that are relevant to the funding source for that client. So this is how you would create a reassessment or an initial assessment for a client. I'm just doing monthly graphs. So I'm going to select that. My service line is ABA. It's the only one that's there available to you. And this is what your report template will look like. So let's go ahead and go through it. I'm going to call this Test 1 Monthly Graphs, November 2019. And it automatically populates my client's name and their ID number. Okay, and then monthly graphs, you don't have to include analysis if you don't want to, or you can if you would like to. If you're choosing not to put anything, just make sure to delete this text in here so it's not included in your report. If you want to include a brief summary, that's fine too. You can just type it in here. This behavior reduction progress, you could select dates, a date range for the date that you want to include. So I'm just going to include November's. Make sure that you use this date format or it won't populate the data. Trial set means by session, so I can choose day, week, or month. All of our funding sources require at least weekly data, so please don't select monthly unless you want to add additional graphs with monthly data in addition to the weekly data. I'm going to just do mine by trial set. And then once I select my date range, I can click preview. And it's just going to pop in all of my data for my client that I have. And I'm going to scroll down. I can add notes if I want to. You don't have to for your monthly reports if you don't want to. For my skill acquisition progress, I'm going to choose the same dates. And I can choose performance and cumulative graphs, performance only, cumulative only. I'm going to choose performance only. That's just my preference, and I'm going to do it by trial set. And I can preview my data. This is what's going to be included in my graph or in my report. Some other options, if you don't like the way the graphs look here, you choose to graph things on your own, or maybe you have another graph that you'd like to include that is not in the system. You can choose a file from your computer and upload your own graph. So there are 2 spaces for that here. You don't have to use those, they're just there as options. And if you'd like to include recommended goals for the next month, you can. This will be programs that are listed in your client's future plan that will populate in here. So I'm not going to include those. I'm going to assign my report and hit save. So this is what my report looks like currently. So I can choose a couple of things. I can edit the report. So let's go ahead and look at that. I can go back in and change anything that I'd like to. I can download the report. It will download it into a Word document. So if I don't like having all of this other information here and I just want the graphs, I can pull it out into a Word document and just delete that and include only my graphs. So you can customize it however you'd like to. Or I can save it to my file cabinet once I'm ready, or to my client's file cabinet. So I'm going to save to file cabinet. And it's going to tell me it'll be available soon. So I go back to my report list, and you can see this is the one that we just generated, and that's right here. I'm going to go to my client's file cabinet, and I'm going to go to Funder Reports. This is where it drops it in. And here is the report that I just generated, and I can view it here. So this is what it will look like once you're finished. If you choose not to use Rethink for generating your reports, that's fine too, but all of your reports still need to be included in the client's file cabinet instead of being emailed. So it's just going to be a little bit of a different procedure for submitting your reports. So in that case, you would just go to Upload File, and it will allow you to search your computer for a file and upload it to the funder reports. So that's fine too. Okay, thank you for attending Rethink Scheduler and Billing Training. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Tracy at abasolutionsinc.com. Thank you.